That's me. I'm a civil engineer and I'm also an attorney. So I was an engineer first. Can everyone hear, by the way? Just want to make sure. Okay, I hope you can hear.
We can
So,
hear. We're good.
okay, good. When I was in high school, um, I wanted to be an architect. I was interested in buildings. Um, so I started exploring architecture and then came to the realization that architecture was more about art and art-based design than it wasn't technical. So I started looking around and found civil engineering. I thought civil engineering was a better fit for me because I was more of a math and science guy. Um, and I specifically within civil engineering was interested mostly structural engineering, steel and concrete design. So I was admitted at University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, which is where I went. And once I got down there, I was in civil engineering, and I found out about a co-op program. Um, it's kind of a work study program. It's not like internship. It's much better than that. The co-op program, I worked a semester where I came to Chicago. I got a job with a civil engineering firm downtown Chicago by the name of Harza Engineering Company. And I would work for them for a semester full time. And then after that semester, I went back to school for a semester. And then after being in school semester, I'd go back to work for a semester. So it went on and off, semester of work followed by a semester of school, which was great for me because by the time I finished a semester of school, I really wanted to go to work. And after a semester of work, I really wanted to go back to school. So it was a really good fit for me. And I also earned a pretty good salary while working. So it wasn't like a stipend or something. It was real money. It wasn't as much as a graduate engineer, but um, it was much more than minimum wage. So um, that was really good. It also helped me kind of get a better feel because I was actually working at an engineering company full time. Got a much better um, knowledge and experience as to what engineering was really like. So it took me an extra year to graduate, but I in that time I accumulated about 2 years of work experience. So it was terrific. It was absolutely terrific, and I would recommend to anyone going into engineering or other fields for that matter, see if your university has a co-op program, and if they do, look into it because it was terrific. So when I was working both as a co-op student while at in college, and then I went to work for the company after college. They offered me a job, and I took it. So that was Harz Engineering Company. They were based in Chicago. They did almost all water resources projects. Where I first started working and ended up working for my engineering career was in the geotechnical area. So I didn't end up doing structural engineering, steel or concrete design. I ended up doing soil mechanics and foundations. So some of the projects that I worked on the Chicago Deep Tunnel project, which if you don't know about it, you should research it. It is one of the greatest civil engineering projects ever in the world, and it's right here in Chicago. It's hundreds of miles of tunnels bored through solid rock, dolomite, which underlies Chicago. The mainstream tunnel is about 300 feet down, and it's really an amazing project. It is the first phase of the project was directed at environmental concerns, so that sewage, to keep sewage from going into the lake from where we draw our drinking water. And then the second phase of the project was not only environmental, but flood control. So it's really an interesting project. And it's right here. What I did on the deep tunnel project, by the time I started working on it, it had already gone through the design phase, and we were into the construction management phase. So the contracts had been let, for boring tunnels. And this is the section that I worked on. It's the section that goes basically from around.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. What is it? But
Juettner.
you're not. Oh, Juettner, your slides aren't moving.
Oh,
We only
my slides are not moving.
No, we only see the title page. Sorry to interrupt, but thank you.
Let me stop sharing and see if I can restart it. Can you see this? Did the slide change or no?
You're not.
It did?
You're not sharing your screen anymore, so we can't
Oh, I
see.
see.
But
I got it. Gotcha. Let me get. Sorry about that.
no, no
Despite being
worries.
despite being an engineer, I'm not that. Okay. How about that? Can you
Yeah,
see
we
us?
see it. We can see it.
Okay. I'm going to leave it in this mode because it just might be easier, less troublesome.
That sounds perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. So this is a slide on the Chicago Deep Tunnel project. And here's the mainstream section. I worked on the mainstream section that basically ran under the Chicago River from around Addison, so like around right close to Lane Tech, down through the loop, and then out to near McCook Quarry, which is down here, if you can see that. So here's a photograph from inside the tunnel. It's a massive tunnel. It's about 32 feet in diameter, bored through solid dolomite. And when I worked on the project, I stopped screen sharing here for some reason. That's what happened.
We can still see your slides.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I can't. I'm glad you can. So at any rate, I worked on that project, and that was kind of construction management, where I was working out of trailers on the job site, and then I also, frequently went down into the tunnel to supervise certain things like grouting. That's where there's cracks in the rock, and the contractor drills holes, small diameter holes that intersect the crack, and then they pump cement under pressure to fill the cracks from not from the surface, but from deep in, so as to stop water from coming into the tunnel. So that for doing that kind of work, I was that's what they call being working in the field, and I was outside a lot and in the tunnel a lot. So another project that I worked on, in all of these projects, there's a huge number of engineers and other technical people that work on these projects. So it's very much a working with a team. This particular project, the Saran Grande Dam, was in El Salvador. This was a large dam, about the height of the dam from the bottom of the river to the height of the dam was over 100 meters. This was a very, very significant dam in El Salvador. On this one, I worked almost exclusively in the office.
Sorry, Miley, could you mute really fast if that's...
Yeah. So, I in fact worked on designing this road that went on the downstream side of the dam. This is actually the dam over here. It's a earth and rock dam. And then this is a spillway on one side. And down here is a power station. So this road that I worked on designing went from the crest of the dam, eventually down to the power station. And this dam ended up on the un colon bill. It's kind of the $1 bill in El Salvador. So that was, I thought that was pretty cool. So on this particular job, my work was strictly in the office. I did things like work on drawings for the dam. At the time, these were actual physical drawings that I would draw with pencil or pen and ink. And then nowadays it's all CAD. But back then it was old school. I also did a lot of computational things like figuring quantities of dirt and rock to do various parts of the job. Things that would quantities that would end up become part of cost estimates. So kind of just an overview of some of the, in terms of when you're an engineer, where you end up working. A lot of the time it's in the office. I spent a good part of my engineering career in the office working behind a desk. Obviously, I didn't have a notebook computer at the time because the only computers that we had were mainframe. There was no personal computers at all at that time. Very different. But still, a lot of the work was at the desk doing calculations on, things like, quantity takeoffs, sometimes with respect to issues like strength of materials, some, other types of things that were a bit more technical. I did some work in surveying, particularly when I was a co-op student. Surveying is great. It's just a wonderful way to work because there's technical and scientific aspects to it, but also you're outside. So on a day like today, doing surveying work, there's nothing better. You can work in the lab, and I did some laboratory work with testing of soils, testing them for strength and plasticity and other metrics. And you can also, as an engineer, you can also end up working with inside of factories, particularly if you're an industrial engineer or chemical engineer. A lot of those types of jobs, they work in factories. I didn't work in factories very much, but I did do laboratory work and field work and office work. So, as indicated in the introduction, I'm also a lawyer. There's in terms of the intersection between engineering and law, if you have education and experience in both fields, there's a lot of things you can do. Intellectual property development and protection. That's primarily where I worked. That's with, patent law. So I worked with inventors, independent inventors, inventors with small companies, and R&D departments of large corporations, where they're developing inventions and improvements, and we go about protecting them. But it's not just patents. There can be trade secrets. There can be copyright protection and trademark protection as well. So a lot of the times you get engaged with figuring out how to protect innovation, and then if someone infringes, how to go after them for infringement. There's also another area at the intersection of law and engineering is transactional work. So, for example, there are lawyers that work with engineering companies and with construction firms and with large corporations, where they're engaged with contracts and licensing. So you bring your experience as an engineer into doing legal work. Contracts, licensing, merger and acquisitions. I actually did quite some work of this nature. For example, two companies get together to decide to do a joint venture where they're going to work on developing a particular product, or developing technology within a certain area. So they have a joint venture agreement for doing, research and development. There's also, when one company buys out another company with a merger or acquisition, there's always due diligence there, where we study. For example, if I'm working with one company that's acquiring another company, we want to look at their patent portfolio and other technology assets. We might do a landscape search within that particular industry to see not only what intellectual property our company is acquiring, but what intellectual property is owned by competitors that we need to be aware of, to steer clear of, and make sure that there are no patents that would owned by other people that would block products that we want to put on the market. So, so in doing that type of work, you're using both your legal knowledge and skills and your technical knowledge and skills because normal lawyers don't understand necessarily the technology and intellectual property aspects of that work. There's also a lot of work with respect to compliance. There's many agencies on the federal level, state level, and local level that promulgate laws, rules, regulations that need to be complied with. For example, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Federal Food and Drug Administration, or even the Department of Transportation. And a lot of these regulations deal with technology. So as an attorney, you have to understand the technology in order to be able to help your client or your company navigate these rules and regulations. So in terms of my education in law, I went to the Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago-Kent College of Law. I did that while working as an engineer. So I went to night school. And it took me about 4 years at night to graduate and get my law degree. So if you have both an engineering and law degree, like I do, then the areas that you could go to work for, you could go to work for a law firm, which is what I did. But you could also go in-house into a corporation where you could be a part of business or even the engineering side of the company, or you could be in their legal department. Again, doing things like transactional work and compliance, intellectual property development, or you could work for the government. There's a lot of government jobs where combining engineering and law is a position. For example, examiners in the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Actually, for that job, to be an examiner of inventions at the patent office, you don't have to have a law degree. They'll teach you the law, but you do have to have an engineering or hard science degree. But there's other things too, like all the government agencies, again, like the Environmental Protection Agency or the Food and Drug Administration. They employ people that have both patent and law or engineering and law backgrounds. I chose patent law because it was mainly because financially it paid better. So and it was interesting. I would say with both my engineering career and my law career, every day just about was different. It was you're constantly working on new projects, and so it was never boring in terms of doing the same old thing. When I was working in the patent law area, I ended up developing some expertise in particular industries. I did a lot of work with shoes, and you don't necessarily think of patents when you think of shoes, but particularly with performance footwear, like with Nike or Adidas or Hoka. There's a lot of technology that goes into the shoes. The structural design of the shoes, as well as the materials. For example, one area that is really big right now, which you've probably noticed at shoe stores, is knit technology. These are all the knit uppers in athletic footwear are all produced by computer driven, automatic knitting machines. And you have yarns of different elasticity, of different strength, of different, physical properties. And you can design shoes, where certain areas have certain properties that are different than other areas, and you program the knitting machines, to execute that. It's pretty fascinating. So there's a lot of technology in footwear. I also did a lot of work in paper making, pulp and paper, concrete products, pumps, and infiltration were some of the areas that I worked in. Here's one patent that I obtained for a client, Deckers Outdoor Corporation. You probably don't know that name, but Deckers, they own a family of brands, including UGG, Teva, and Hoka, among others. And this particular patent dealt with a convertible shoe where the insole was removable, and then the insole of the shoe could be adapted into a flip-flop sandal. So, for example, if you take the bus to the beach, you could wear, your boot until you get to the beach, and then you could just convert the insole into a flip-flop sandal. Here's another client of mine. This is Riccobene Designs. This is actually my backyard. And these are concrete pavers. And they kind of look like flagstone, but they're not. These are actually individual concrete pavers. And they're, despite the fact that it all looks like different sizes, they're not. It's just one size, and they fit together. It looks, looks random, but again, it's not. And these are actually hexagons, and the pattern is there's actually like a honeycomb pattern there, but because of the um, innovative technology, it even though it's a honeycomb, it looks like natural flagstone. So that we got a lot of patents on that technology. Another I'm losing my another patent that I worked on. Geez, Louise here. Was this one. This is a patent I wrote for Dr. Arthur Palmer. He was a heart surgeon at Northwestern University before he retired. And what we ended up getting a number of patents on a left ventricular assist device or artificial heart. But it's basically a pump. And so even though I'm a civil engineer, I don't have a biomed background, but I do understand hydraulics. I do understand how pumps work. And so I worked with him on getting a patent, or a number of patents actually for his blood pump. All of these things I could talk about for a long time, but we don't have a long time. So just a few notes. If load up on math, load up on science. Um, but I also recommend taking classes in the language arts, do speech, do debate, communications. Um, um, and the reason why is no matter whether you go into engineering or law or both, you end up spending most of your time communicating with other people on your team and other people that you may be working with. And so the ability to speak and write and communicate is important. Taking a foreign language is also good, particularly in both my engineering career and my law career. I did a lot of work internationally, um, from dams in Central America to, working with companies in China. So taking a foreign language would have helped me more if I had done that. And then also join STEM-based organizations like CASE in the Chicago Engineers Foundation. Um, and then there's lots of scholarship opportunities, including the Chicago Engineers Foundation, which I'm involved with. And I'm also involved with the Intellectual Property Law Association of Chicago. Our organization also gives scholarships to students that want to study engineering in college. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope I didn't go too long on that.